Back to the Safety Nights Ergo Summit. We're thrilled to have you here for our last day, and our first session of our last day, titled "Your Employee's Posture is Keeping Me Busy" with James. But before we dive in, just some quick housekeeping. I'm going to toss my contact information in the chat. So if you have any questions about the summit, uh, everything that's happened, or after, please feel free to reach out. Also, feel free to use that to reach out if you just want to connect. Also, if you have any questions for James throughout his session, feel free to toss those in the chat, and we'll try and address those as they come up. Now, on to our incredible speaker. James is a certified remote ergonomics specialist and a qualified Alexander Technique teacher. He has a passion for basically technology in all sense, and he's the founder of Posture Stars. James has helped countless teams optimize their work setup through remote workshops and evaluation. He has a unique background in cognitive science and AI, which gives him a very distinct perspective on the intersection of posture, mindfulness, and productivity. So with that being said, James, I'll turn it over to you. James, I don't think can't hear you. Check up in the top right. There's the settings icon. Not yet. Okay. James is just going to jump off and jump back on. So hang on a second. Technical difficulties. We'll figure it out in a second.
How about now?
Can hear you.
You got me. That's funny, isn't it? Hi, everybody. So sorry about that. As Cassandra says, we've all been there. No worries. I can remember back in 2020, if you were on something like this and your audio or video wasn't working, it was a disaster and the whole world was panicking. But nowadays, we're all so used to Zoom and Teams and Hangouts that we just take it in our stride. But it is funny because it was working before we hit the go live. So I declare it's not me. It's the powers that be in the interwebs. So my name's James. Thank you for your patience. I am a posture and ergonomics expert, and I got into this field because my posture was terrible, and I ended up having to stop work, which was a shame because I was getting really nicely paid at the time from an IT company. So I'm going to make this session all about how you can stop either yourself or your employees suffering pain and discomfort from poor posture, and hopefully stop anyone having to take time off work as well, which is devastating not only to them but also to your companies. So when we think about posture, the first thing we think is, oh, well, we're going to stand up straight. And when people hear that part of my other role is an Alexander Technique teacher, some of you will know what that means. When they hear it's that, which is kind of posture mindfulness, they kind of stiffen and stand up straight. And the problem that we have in the modern world is we've got this idea of posture being quite static, quite fixed, that if you just sort of put yourself as upright as you can, then that's great and the world's a better place. But the rigidity involved in that posture is tiring and it's limiting. It affects how you breathe. And also, we forget. So you might decide, oh, I'm going to sit up really straight, or one of your employees might say, I'm going to sit up really straight in my chair today. And then within minutes, you'll see them crouched over like a king prawn, crouched over like a king prawn over their keyboard, like this. So here you'll see on this chair, I'm going to demonstrate today how to stand well for standing desks, how to sit well for sitting desks, how to be aware of your posture and how to keep that going. And then a lot of the stuff that you can use that's really basic and simple to make sure that the environment is set up optimally as well for both comfortable and productive work, which is really important because we want to end our days feeling like we've got energy left at the end of the day rather than collapsing in a corner because we've been sitting typing like this for long periods of time and ending up doing ourselves all sorts of damage over the long run. Now, I know that there are some of you watching this. Those of you who are watching this live, I'm going to berate you now. Those of you who are watching it as a recording, I'm going to berate you now as well. Some of you are sat with a laptop on a desk, watching it just flat on the desk on a laptop. So the laptop screen is going to be down here. And I guarantee for those of you who are doing that, none of you are sat nice and upright like this. You've probably all been pulling down because the screen's down there. And our primary sense, our visual sense, tends to draw us towards what we're looking at. So in my online webinars, in my online workshops, and particularly in person with people, if I say to someone, oh, what's that over there? They'll move their head over there as they look over there, rather than just looking over there. And our heads tend to get drawn towards the object of our attention, which when we're working is either your laptop screen or here, your monitor screens. So let's get to it then. We're going to do, first of all, let's do a bit about posture, then we'll do the environment, a little bit about breaks and all of that good stuff. I'm going to answer questions as we go along. So Dan is going to be kind enough from Safety Night to tell me if thanks Hyatt. Hyatt says, gotta love technical difficulties, lol. No worries at all. I know, we just take them in our stride now, don't they? But if you have any questions as we're going along, just ask them, because this is your opportunity for the live viewers to have your questions answered. And I'd really like to be able to help you with those. So my first question, and I'm not looking for you to type it into the chat, but I wonder if any of you know in your own heads, is how heavy is a head? How heavy is your head? It's heavier than you think. So it's generally about 9 or 10 kilograms, 4 or 5 pounds of weight. So picture that in bags of sugar, and then imagine balancing that on quite a narrow piece of spine here and seeing how difficult it is to balance that well. And our spine is balancing our cranium on top of it. And when I'm with people in person and I say, can you point to the place where your head is balancing on your neck? About half of people, you might be one of those, try it now. If you like to point to it, if no one's looking, go on, go ahead, have a point. Half of people will say, oh, my head is balancing on my neck about here. It's here, isn't it? And they've kind of got that idea that because we've got this jawline here, that our head balances on the neck there. But our spine goes up really, really, really tall. Our spine goes all the way up to the base of the cranium, the base of the brain here. So if you take 2 fingers and place them under your earlobes, here and here, very roughly, this is where in between your fingers, your head balances on your neck. So take those fingers, place them under your earlobes, and we're just going to have a tiny little nod, tiny little nod to get an idea of that joint in there, your atlanto-occipital joint. I wonder if there's any captions or any subtitles, if they're going to get that one right. Atlanto-occipital joint. See, I can't even say it. So in there is that joint balancing 9 or 10 kilograms of weight on top of that narrow spine, and it's at that height. So tiny little nod. This presentation is brilliant, isn't it? Oh, I knew it. I knew you liked it. And then a tiny little shake of the head just to get a feel for that joint there. We don't want this presentation to finish, do we? I didn't think so, guys. I didn't think so. Little nod again. So get a feel for that joint in there. And a lot of what we're talking about now is going to be how we can keep that joint well balanced and well aligned whilst we're working. So I'll show you in sitting, and then I'll show you in standing. Sitting. When you go to work, you'll see, guys, whether you're working at home, whether you're working on a kitchen chair at a kitchen table, whether you're working in an office and you've got a £5,000 all singing or all dancing ergonomic chair, when people go to sit in their chair, follow and watch me as they do it. They just kind of sit in the chair. They drop into it, plop into it, and then the act of sitting is done. And then they dictate what the next act will be, which is their most important act for the day, which is going to be dealing with that plethora of emails which have built up. So immediately we're into here and we've forgotten the posture, and you've set yourself up to begin the day with that massive weight of the head. My head's massively heavy, I can assure you, because of the size of my brain. The weight of the head, pulling yourself forwards and down and compressing, particularly here into the cervical spine, which is why people tend to get that hump there, that hunch. In the UK, we call it dowager's hump. You'll have whatever phrase you've got in the rest of the world. Text neck, forward head. So sitting down badly to start the day means the rest of your day is going to be rubbish. So I urge you to join me in this. If you're not in an embarrassing situation where you're in front of 500 people at the front of an office, I urge you to stand up now. Go on, there's no better time. You might as well. I'm waiting. Okay, great. Loads of you are standing up in my imaginary head. So we're standing, and I want you to take your hands here and have the chair behind you. Please no one fall over on this safety call. I want you to make sure that you're going to be safe. Take your hands and just rest them here. So you see where my pockets are? Here. You're resting your hands in front of your pockets there. And if you push back with your hands, that's the point at which your hips want to fold as your knees go forwards, and let your back stay in one long piece as you fold down into what would be a squat, and then up from there into sitting upright on your chair. And what you'll find is that you're really nice and open here across the hips. And these hip flexors can get really tight for people who work in the office all day. So we're nice and open there. And you'll notice that the torso is nice and upright as well, with the spine nice and upright and the head balanced on top. We're going to stand up now, everybody. Excitement upon excitement. You've done the sitting down. Please, again, I urge you to do this. You will learn from doing this practically. If you think you can just sit there and watch this video and you'll remember it all for when you come to use it at some imaginary point in the future, that's not going to work. You might as well do this now. So standing, I'll show you from the side, is quite simply, again, from this point here up to this point here, we lean forwards all in one long piece. So what we're not doing is pulling the head forwards like that. We're leaning the whole torso all in one long piece until you feel the weight go over your feet, and then you just press the feet into the floor, and you'll see how easy it is to stand up. And if you know anybody who's elderly, who has trouble struggling getting in and out of the chair, teaching them this is a really nice and easy way to make it easier for them to get in and out of the chairs that they've got. So I'll show you in slow motion again. It's like the $1 Million Man from that 80s film series. Imagine the music in the background, and we're going in slow motion. But from the hip joints here, the hips are going backwards, and you'll notice that the head, neck, and back are all staying nice and long until the squat is interrupted by the chair, and then we fold back into the chair. And there we are in that lovely upright position. You might want to shuffle back a bit if you can. That set you up perfectly for beginning your day, dealing with that massive email mountain that you've got to work your way through. So sitting and standing really is quite trivial if you pay a little bit of attention to yourself as you're doing it. And a lot of you might think, well, I haven't got time to spend attention on myself. I've got all of this other job to do. And I'd remind you of what happens when you go on an airplane, and you know, when the oxygen masks come down and they say, please put on your own oxygen mask before you look after everybody else. If you look after your posture as you sit and you work, not only will you be able to do more work better because you get less fatigued and less tired, you're less likely to take time off work, and you're going to end up the day feeling a lot better, but you're also probably going to be able to make sure that everyone else is happy around you as well. And he's setting a great example. So there's no reason not to have good posture. Now, let's talk about, now that we're in the chair and we've sat well, let's talk about a bit about the environment. And this is equally valid whether you're at home, hybrid, or in the office. Everything I'm showing here applies to desk-based work, but it also applies in standing to lab-based work, pipetting, using BCRs, any of those kind of things, or whatever role you're in. Looking after your posture is always a good idea. So when you're sitting on your chair, ideally, you want your hips to be just a little bit above knee height here. For some people, it's about the same height, but generally just a little bit above knee height with the hips. So you've got that slight fall down of the angle of the leg there, and your feet resting flat on the floor. You can't quite see that there, but I can assure you these trainers are resting flat on the floor. If you're too high in your chair, now you'll see why I've left the arms off this chair, and your feet are dangling, the tendency then is to wrap your legs around the chair behind you, which pulls you down into yourself and causes bad posture again. And if you're too low and your knees are above your hips, there's a tendency for you to sit poorly as well. So ideally, you just want your hips just a little bit above your knees. If you're in a chair which isn't adjustable, you can add cushions to it to raise the height of the chair. If you tie them down, that's a nice way of doing it. You can get ergonomic cushions, which are specially designed as well. If your chair is too high for you, then you want to be using a footrest underneath. So here I have a footrest. This one's great. This is from back at Elkheason. This is a nice soft spongy footrest. I love this. Home workers, these are great because if you're not wearing shoes, which I would not be wearing if I weren't on this webinar, on this training call, I would be without shoes on and then resting my feet on this nice spongy soft surface. The advantage of using a footrest, whether you think you need one or not, is, see if I can get it in view of the camera over here, is that by resting your feet on it, it tends to send you back and up into the chair more easily. So even if you don't think you need a footrest, having a footrest is generally a good idea, and particularly home workers getting a nice comfy one like that is great. So we've looked at our legs, we've looked at our feet, we've looked at our derriere, our touche, our booty. I'm sure there are all sorts of names for it that you can think of. Please don't shout them at me whilst I'm on this screen. So we've got the right height for those, and then we can look at the right height for the back of our chair as well. So in this chair here, there's a nice lumbar support here, which is resting into the small of the back. So make sure that if your chair has lumbar support, that it's in the right position there. And you'll notice here, I've got the back angle of the chair about 5 or 10 degrees back from the upright. And I've set the chair so that if I want to, I can lean back. Many ergonomic chairs have this feature, which is great when you're on those interminable Teams, Zooms, conferences, hangout calls where they're back to back for hour to hour. It's really nice to be able to move between sitting, leaning back, sitting here, and even standing. And for those of you who are in sales, who are working from home, you might want to consider standing for those sales calls. There are benefits for those as well, because the more you move around, the better it is for you in the long run. So whilst we're on that subject, I'm just going to have a little chat about standing tables. Standing tables are becoming more and more popular. Here in the UK, I'm in the UK, I'm in Manchester, which is where the people play the football. And if you have a standing desk, like so, you want to have it so that your arms are about 90 degrees when you're standing like this. And then the top of the screen here is at about eye height. And that's a really nice standing position. For those of you who do stand, my experience is that people tend to lean forwards like this to use a standing desk because their attention's full forwards on them, and you can see how that's affecting the neck and back there. So if that's you, just push your hips back ever so slightly so that your heels rest into the floor, and you'll find it leaves you in a much more upright position again.
Hey James, we do have a question. Is leaning back okay for posture?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't want to, if you were, I'll bring this down again. If you were sitting leaning back for long periods of time during the day, that's not ideal. But let's face it, if you're going to be on a half-hour call, you might as well lean back and enjoy it. I do have clients who have, for particular health reasons, they can find it quite difficult to be upright for long periods of time. And for those people, they will tend to lean back. And if that's you, you want to make sure that you've adjusted your monitor and your keyboards and mice so that they're appropriate for you leaning back. So you want to have them nice and close to you here. Try and avoid contact stress from the edge of the table onto the soft underbelly of your arm here, because that can cause you problems over time, carpal tunnel syndrome, repetitive strain injury. So has that answered your question, Hyatt? Great, thank you, says Hyatt. That's great. Trevor says take the shoes off. No, it's not worth it. These socks are far too old, and they might escape from my feet if I took my shoes off today. Trevor says it's tricky with a rolling chair and being 300 plus pounds. Yeah, absolutely. So the casters, the wheels on your chair, you can get particular casters for particular ergonomic chairs, which will lock so that they, when you're in position, they will lock so that you don't have that issue with the chair sliding away all over the place. And a lot of people make the mistake, particularly home workers, of having carpet casters on their chairs when they're on a harder floor like a kitchen floor or a stone floor or a laminate floor. For those, you can swap your casters out for softer casters, which mean that you're not skidding around so much as well, which is a handy little hint for that. So I just wanted to talk about, before I forget, the 4 horsemen of the ergopolis. Ergopolis? I've just made that up, the 4 horsemen of the ergopolis, which are the 4 primary reasons that people suffer from discomfort from ergonomic issues, in my opinion, whilst they're working at a desk, either in the office or at home. So the first one of those is poor posture. We've talked about posture. I've given you an idea how heavy the head is. If you've got poor posture for 8-10 hours a day, that's really not going to do you any favors. The second one is static posture. So if, for example, you're going to be sat for 8 hours a day working, it's a really good idea to get out and away from your seat as often as possible. There are numerous ways you can achieve that. Here I've got a desk. We sell them on our Posture Stars website, for those of you in the UK. I'll say Posture Stars because the subtitles will confuse it and say it's Posture Stars. But standing desks are great, and they're getting more and more popular. And the one that we have here has software that reminds you to change between sitting and standing regularly, which is a really, really good idea. If you've just got a normal desk, or you're at a kitchen table or a counter or something like that, you can use tools like a Pomodoro timer, which is based on an Italian word meaning tomato, I believe. I might be showing my ignorance here. So it's got segments like a tomato. And a nice way to set yourself up, you can get those really affordably on all well-known online retailers. I'm sure you know the one I mean. A nice way to set that up is 30 minutes of sitting, for every 30 minutes, you have 20 minutes of sitting, 8 minutes-ish of standing, and a couple of minutes moving around. So if you're your own boss of your own time, that's a really nice way of making sure you get lots of movement in the day. And that amounts to about 5 hours of sitting, 2 to 2.5 hours of standing, and half an hour of moving around or stretching during the day, which is great. If you're in like a call center where there's a big clock on the wall and everything you do is monitored and timed, you might not have that option, but as best you can, try and get out and about from your chair. It's not a good idea to get an upright or a standing desk or building your own desk. It's not a good idea to stand all day. I get asked this question a lot. The problem with standing all day is it's just as tiring as sitting all day. Again, it's a static-ish, prolonged posture, and it can cause you issues with varicose veins, swelling in the ankles, and all sorts. So you really want to be moving between sitting and standing as often as possible. That's a really nice way to spend your day. The third cause of postural pain is repetition. So constantly doing the same thing day in, day out. So you can make sure that your tasks are rotated throughout the day. So maybe you have some times when you're sitting using a keyboard, sometimes when you're sitting presenting or talking on a Zoom or a Hangouts or Teams or something. So try and mix them up so that they're mixed throughout the day doing that. And the fourth cause of postural pain is repetition. Can you see what I did there? Ha ha, that's the joke for the day. It's not repetition, we've already done that. The fourth one is contact stress, which I mentioned, which is what stopped me working in the long run, because all I had was a laptop and a desk to work on at home. So it's really, you want to avoid as much as possible any pressure into here. And it's tempting, isn't it, when you start to get tired, it's tempting to start to lean down on your arms to take the pressure off the torso. But you're saving up long-term issues over time by putting contact pressure, contact stress onto your arms by doing that. So it's really best avoided. This little fella here, how are we doing for time? Oh, loads of time. This little fellow here, this one by Contour. This is Unimouse. You can have this as upright or down. I try and recommend as best I can for people to have more upright, more vertical mouses than flat ones. And there's a reason for that. So for all of you who are sat there, who don't mind joining in, I want you to place your hand out in front of you, and I want you to turn it over as if you're holding a mouse flat in front of you. And can you feel that there's a tension required for you to rotate the hand into that position? There's a tension here through the forearm, there's a bit of bicep, there's a bit up into the shoulder. And now release that and let that go, and you'll notice that tension's gone. So if you've got an upright mouse, it's much easier to keep nice and open through the shoulder, which is great. A lot of people I see posturally are, particularly for people who are more petite, are still using full-size keyboards, which means that they're having to reach for the mouse because you've got this 45, 50 centimeter keyboard in front of you. And can you see how that's affecting into the shoulder and neck, which is going to hurt over time posturally? So if that's you, consider getting a compact keyboard, a nice smaller one. You don't have to have the 10 key on most keyboards. You can get compact ones without them, unless you're doing lots of data entry and number entry, in which case you can purchase a separate 10 key, which you can have separate anyway. So it's nice when you're sitting to have good posture. We've talked about how to find the chair right for you. You've got your posture right, sitting here. The keyboard, try and get the B key, B for belly, B for tummy, right in directly in front of you, with the keyboard nice and close to you, and your mouse nice and close to you too. And that will leave you in the perfect posture for then, if your desk is at the right height, which you can alter by raising or lowering it, by chopping bits off or adding things under or putting things on top of it, or using a keyboard tray, all of those great options. When all of that's right, finally we're looking at your screens to make sure that your screen here, top of the screen wants to be at about eye height here. If you have one main screen, try and have it directly in front of you. If you use a main screen and a laptop, have the laptop so it's on a stand or on a riser. Don't leave it flat on the desk. There's no need to do that. Time's moved on. We've got all sorts of equipment available to you, which are really affordable. You can even just use reams of paper to rise your laptop up. So try and get your laptop screen sort of mid-on to your other screen then. If you have two screens and use a main one most of the time and the other one a bit, have your main screen in front of you and the other one off to one side. If you use two screens equally, make sure you're in the middle of the two screens here, like spread out like a book. And this little guy here is great that a lot of people overlook. If you're working from a laptop and a screen or two screens, having a separate webcam is a great way to put everything up on the main screen so everybody can see you in amazing 4K Technicolor. But really it means that you're not having to peer down into a small laptop screen to do your Teams calls, your Zooms calls, whatever that might be. And finally, one little thing that really helps with posture is these guys here. These are phone stands. There's a tablet stand there. There are all sorts available from all sorts of manufacturers. In the UK, we've got there are fantastic wooden ones from Ergonomic Cafe. You've got Kensington, you've got Base 12 and Next Stand. You've got Baccarel keys, and loads of different companies will sell you a laptop stand, a phone stand, or a tablet stand. And having your phone on a stand like this means it's so much easier to type on it and deal with the screen than if it's flat on your desk, which people tend to use like this, or if you're having to use a hand to hold it. And most people still today will posturally dock their head into their phone instead of docking their phone to their head, which I find bonkers, but hey, there you go. So I said that was my last solution, but one thing that a lot of people overlook is these guys, spectacles. So having glasses or spectacles, particularly at the desk, can make a big difference to how tired you feel at the end of the day if you need them, particularly because if you're not wearing them, there's a tendency to try and pull yourself forwards in to see what's going on the screen more, giving yourself all of this bad posture. So we've looked at posture, how to stand, how to sit. We've looked a bit at your environment, some of the stuff that can help you, getting your keyboard and mouse right, having support for your peripherals right, chair height, desk height, screen height, all of those good things. The last bit then comes down to the kind of cognitive side of things. So if you think in terms of, we're going to go back to school, guys. Can you remember school with the Venn diagram, which was those 3 circles with a little bit in the middle? That was where the Goldilocks zone is. So really, one of those circles is body. It's are you using your body well? Is it well positioned? Is it in the right place? The second portion is space. That's your environment. Is it set up well so that you can dock yourself and your environment to each other comfortably without you having to compromise your posture to use it? And then the third part of that Venn diagram is your brain. It's your thinking. We've talked about taking regular breaks. That's great. Let's talk about a bit about eye health as well. For a lot of you, you'll be staring at a screen all day. Think in terms of 20-20-20. So every 20 minutes or so, look away 20 feet or more for about 20 seconds. So every 20 minutes or so, I go and stare at my neighbours out the window and see what they're up to and what that dastardly cat's doing in my garden. Give it about 20 seconds, because your eyes are muscles too, and the accommodating mechanisms for the lens and the muscular nature of the eye, they want to be moving as much as possible as well. And if you just sat in front of a screen all day, your eyes aren't getting that movement, which is one of the reasons why they get so tired. If you're interested in more in eye health, on posturestars.com, which side is it? posturestars.com. I've got a free course. There's a free course on eye health for all your employees, and for you, you can watch that. There's a free course on posture and how to sit well. So it's all about the nature of sitting well. There's a free course about getting your desk set up all right and all of that sort of stuff. And then finally, for those of you who are interested in being able to pay attention to your posture as you do things, there's also a free course on that called Active Mindfulness. So they're in the online section of posturestars.com. They're free to everybody on this call. They're going to be free till the end of the month. And there are also a couple of opportunities there for, we have a photo assessment tool, which you can take a photo of yourself whilst you're sat at your desk, and it will tell you exactly what you're doing wrong in terms of your posture and your desk setup. And that's at $29. That's going up at the end of the month to $49. And we also have another tool, which is a training tool for self-evaluation tool for your employees, where they can go through everything I've shown there with videos and text and an AI helper to show them how to sit well and get their environment set up perfectly as well. In the UK, we call that a DSE assessment, ergo evaluation in the US. And again, that's just till the end of the month. For people on here, that's $29 instead of, it'll be $49 at the end of the month. So that'd be a good idea to get in and get one of those. Posturestars.com. Trevor's off. Trevor says, thank you for the great presentation. Oh, I've missed you, Trevor. You've gone already. Have you got any questions that I can answer for you? I've given you a whirlwind tour in about half an hour about sitting and getting your setup working well. If not, I'll throw in a couple of ones that I usually get asked on my online workshops. People ask about, oh, here we go. I'll put that to one side. I'll try and remember that point. Andrew asks, as an accountant, my right hand used to get a serious workout, jump between the number pad and mouse. One of my mentors even developed carpal tunnel by middle age. Yeah, it happens. So I finally switched to using the mouse with my left hand, and now I'm faster and maybe safer. What do you think of this move? Well, yeah, okay. So you've removed the offending appendage from the equation. It might be now that you're going to have issues with the other one. If you're switching between number pad and mouse a lot, then consider having a separate number pad, a separate 10 key, which are really affordable. You can get one from Kinesis. I think Gold Star do them as well. They're just plug and play. It's just USB plug and play. And then you can put your number pad wherever you want and move it around whenever you want as well. You could consider, have I got one here? Oh yeah, this one. This is fresh out. This is from back at Elkezen. the ergo slider. Now, these are great, but they take a little bit of getting used to. So when you switch your mouse or when you switch your keyboard, usually it takes about a week to get used to it. But you soon get used to one of these. And this is a central pointing device. So you have that in front of your keyboard there. It comes with a wrist rest, and you move your mouse, I don't know if you can see, by moving this here. So instead of that clicking action and being quite fingery, this is really nice and open with your hand and palm. You're using here your forearm to move it around. And it has different buttons for copy and paste and double click and a scroll wheel as well. So that's really great. They're really great if you've been struggling with mice. Contour do a version of that as well called the Uni Mouse, which is also very popular. Or you might want to consider who makes it? The MX Master 3S mouse, which is it's got a lot more features in terms of scroll and programmable keys, which is great for people like accountants because you can set up shortcuts for a lot of stuff. So if you're constantly finding yourself having to grab a scroll bar and move down an Excel spreadsheet or something else, it's really nice to have a mouse that will do a lot of that more easily for you. Which brings me to keyboard shortcuts. So many people who don't learn the keyboard shortcuts for their applications that do away with a lot of the mousing effort that has to be done. One of my first ever jobs when I was in between, I was on a school holiday, was a data entry clerk, and a lady was pregnant, and for a full 37 hours a week, they brought me in to cover her job. And by using keyboard shortcuts, I did her 37-hour week in about 6 hours in the first day. I was told I had to stop it and work really, really slowly, otherwise it would upset everybody. So keyboard shortcuts can save you and your company lots of time. Did that answer your question, Andrew? If let me know. Awesome, he says. Yes, thank you. Oh, I'm really pleased. I'm really glad to hear it. So yeah, there's all sorts of ways in which you can support your posture and you can support your comfort at work just by using a little bit of brain work. Which is ironic because I was going to tell you about something 5 minutes ago before Andrew's question. I said I'll put that to one side, and now my brain's completely lost it. So I don't know what that was going to be. Life shattering. It would have made your lives brilliant, but it's lost now, lost in the midst of time. Such a shame. Okay, any last questions? Oh, I remembered what it is. Kneeling chairs and Pilates balls. I get a lot of questions about, are these good? Because the Pilates ball can train your core, and kneeling chairs, there's all sorts of stuff like this. Generally, there's a reason why Pilates balls are saved for the Pilates studio. They're big, they take lots of space. Sitting on them does require quite a lot of effort. So it's not good for an 8-hour day. And I don't think kneeling chairs are particularly good for an 8-hour day as well. But you can get all sorts of different types of chairs. So if you have a sit-stand desk, you can get a perching stool. They're really good to sit on where you're perching on it. So you can stand for a while, perch on it for a while, and then sit. Those are absolutely fantastic. So have a think about what you sat on, and don't just assume that having a kitchen chair in front of a kitchen desk is in your best possible interests. Okay, I think I'll wrap up there. So I've thrown everything at you. This is recorded. So those of you who are watching this live, you can watch this again. Those of you who are watching it recorded, if I were you, I'd go back to the beginning and figure out how to sit and stand properly and set your chair up properly, because those two acts are going to make a really big difference to you. And please do go to posturestars.com and help yourself dig into my free courses. They're absolutely free. There's no reason why you shouldn't take advantage of them. There's the active mindfulness to be aware of your posture all day. It's kind of mindfulness meditation, but you can actually do stuff instead of sitting in a dark corner of a room. There's Let's Get Comfy at Our Desks, which is great for setting your desk up right. There's how to get your posture right, and there's also one on eyesight. So share all of those as freely as you want with yourself and your employees. Happy early Christmas, everybody. I think I'm done, Dan. I think I need a bit of a rest there. I've talked non-stop for 40 minutes. I'll grab myself a drink. Oh, you're muted, Dan. It's your turn. There you go.
There we go. That was incredible. I think I can speak for everyone. That was 40 minutes of a great performance, and I think we all learned a lot. I don't know if anybody's noticed, I've already lowered my chair, so now I have to adjust my screen. I'm way lower in the screen than I was before. Yeah, and honestly, I think again, one of the biggest takeaways I've had this entire week is rethinking ergonomics from every angle. And one of the things that I'm starting to notice is how much my daughter is showcasing me how poor my ergonomics are, even just by her mimicking holding a phone. And when she does it, how she leans her head in. And something I never thought about, but here we are. Like, again, I'm taking something away that has now changed the way I think about how I live my life, at work, but also away from work and at home. So thank you so much. Again, before we leave, anybody has any additional questions, please toss them in. Feel free to go check out posturestars.com. I have the link in the chat. And if we don't have any questions, all I can say is, James, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us from all the way across the pond. I feel like I need to make a trip your way so we can go grab a pint at a pub in the near future. Thank you again, everybody. Our last session is going to be today at noon, and it is titled Rest, Recovery, Repeat, the Role of Sleep Hygiene in Injury Prevention. So it's going to be again at 12 o'clock at noon Eastern time. Hope to see everyone there. And James, once again, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me. And if you ever do come over, we'll make sure you get some real English beer in a real pub.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having
James.
me, everybody. Bye.